Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad that you could join us today. My name is Anne Akech. I work in the marketing department at Cobweb. And today's webinar is all about discovering what Intelligent Agreement Management, or IAM, really means and how DocuSign is taking it to the next level. Because, I mean, let's be honest, agreements are everywhere in business, and as work moves faster and we need smarter, safer, and more efficient ways to handle them. So today, we'll be hearing from experts who are right at the center of this shift. Here is a quick look up at what's coming up. First, I'll start with a brief intro about Cobweb, and next we'll jump into an exciting presentation from our guest speakers who are from DocuSign, and finally, we'll wrap up with Q&A session. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A. So this is a little bit about Cobweb. We began our journey over 20 years ago in the UK. And from the beginning, our mission has always been simple: to help businesses succeed with the cloud. Today, we are proud to have partnered with more than 4,000 businesses across the UK and the Middle East. I mean, from cloud solutions to cybersecurity, and now, of course, the game-changing frontier of AI. Our focus at Cobweb remains the same: to make technology feel safe and empowering for every business that we serve. And that's exactly why we are excited to explore innovations like DocuSign Intelligent Agreement Management, because DocuSign is no longer just about digital signatures. So just as Cobweb helps organizations confidently embrace the cloud, IAM, DocuSign, helps them simplify complex processes that take full control of the agreement cycle. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Anne Barrecu from DocuSign, who will take on the role. So, Anne, you're welcome.
Thank you. Is this correct?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, let's go. Well, thank you very much, Anne, for this introduction. Good afternoon. We highly appreciate you taking the time to connect today. I'm Anne Barrecu-Benoit. I'm leading the partner ecosystem for the Middle East at DocuSign. And I'm thrilled to be here today with Khalul Mehdi, who is Principal Partner Solution Architect, and who will take us through an amazing live demo. So stay tuned. To get started with, I'd like to share with you how DocuSign is helping organizations to drive more revenue, improve efficiency, and reduce risk throughout your organizations by transforming the way they manage their agreements. Before we get started and we get into the details about IAM, I thought I'd give you a quick snapshot about DocuSign in the UAE and what it represents as of today. Some of you may know us, some others may not. So I thought it was interesting to see that even though we're a global company and we're serving over 180 countries, in the UAE we have at the moment more than 1,000 active customers, which means that it's about 100,000 plus users. Most of our customers are in, I would say, the sweet spot that we would find in the UAE, which are obviously real estate, financial services, media and entertainment, and probably top use cases that we see, especially the ones that customers start with, are mainly around HR and sales. What I want to say as well is that we launched IAM back in December in the UAE, and we already have 50 plus customers. So that shows that really the message resonates because it brings value to customers. And this is what Khalul and myself are going to go through today. So what you will see in this webinar is that agreements are the foundation of every business, and it presents a huge untapped opportunity for driving better business results. But simply put together, the world runs on agreements. They govern trillions of dollars of economic activity every year, and a typical company completes literally thousands of them every single year. Now, that number may sound large, but when you stop and think about the agreements that are required for virtually everything in your organization are a huge amount, which is why we believe that agreements present perhaps a great source of untapped value living in most organizations. So as you can see here, Agreements live through every part of your organization. And as I speak, I'm sure that it resonates with some of the use cases that you can see here. And from complex agreements negotiated by your legal team to a simple corporate IT policy, agreements live in every function. If you're selling something, they influence every step of that process, from an NDA to an order form, to a contract, to amendments, to change orders. If you're in an HR team, you know that you need to rely on agreements for new talents, to off-board people as well. You need to sign in terms of codes and conducts. So there are plenty of use cases as well. Procurement works with them every single day as well. They manage the purchasing process, and that keeps all the business running. If you're in legal teams manage very important filings, and in addition to that, they need to support agreements through the rest of the business. And this is just a handful of examples. And what these agreements have in common is that they govern virtually all your day-to-day operations, and every single one of them needs to be created somehow. It needs to be committed to and finalized, and you ultimately need to manage that agreement and the obligations between you and the parties. What we see is that the way agreements are managed is fundamentally broken. While investments in technologies like CRM, ERP, HCM have delivered efficient and data-driven processes in areas like quote to cash or how to retire, the agreements that those processes rely on have remained largely untouched. And the agreements themselves may have moved from pen and paper to digital docs like PDF, but anytime one of your employees interacts with an agreement, they are pulled out of that modern digital process and they are dropped into one that looks pretty similar to what it was 100 years ago. And this slows down your other processes down while introducing unnecessary costs and risks at every step of the way. And at the root of this, there are two fundamental problems that can be found in virtually every business. The first one is the systems and processes that manage agreements are manual, inefficient, and disconnected from your core business system. Let's take an example. If you think about a typical sales contract, you reach the point where it's time to get a contract in front of a customer. But to create that contract, your salesperson needs to email deal desk or manually rekey data in a CRM. It might need to be reviewed and negotiated, which probably means emailing different versions back and forth, manually tracking versions, or rewriting clauses, and then trying to figure out who you need to chase down for approval. Once that's done, you hopefully have electronic signature in place, but it's still surprisingly common to see agreements that slip or slow down because they need to be printed, scanned, emailed, or even couriered for completion. And once that's done, you not only need to make sure that the agreement is stored somewhere, someone can actually find it. Someone also probably needs to rekey data back into other systems like CRM or ERP that run your business. And that's just about one contract. And this inefficiency doesn't just repeat itself for every sales contract. It applies to every contract, every agreement throughout the rest of the sales process. So this is hugely costly, inefficient, and a big driver of risk in your organization. The second challenge in most organizations is that there are an immense amount of valuable data in agreements that are unusable because they are trapped in static files, flat files. So for example, I'm sure you'd love to see and to be able to answer questions about specific contracts, like whether a contract you just signed has any high-risk terms and that you need to be aware of. Or you might want to know if there are any SLAs or your vendor needs to uphold. You should also be able to zoom out and answer questions about your contracts in aggregate, like what are the top 10 contract risks you face in your business, or any terms that are preventing deals from closing quickly that you could change without introducing additional risks to the business. Maybe you should also be able to integrate that data to automate and streamline important steps in your core business processes. For example, automating things like account provisioning, notifying your teams about any specific or important action to take. And all of this is either impossible or impractical if the data is trapped inside a static document. So at DocuSign, we call this the agreement trap, and virtually every organization, regardless of industry, regardless of size, has to deal with that. The agreement trap costs organization up to 20% of total agreement value every year. And after we've made an evaluation together with Deloitte, and we've identified that this destroys close to $2 trillion in global economy value every year. That cost may sound big, but if you look at the impact it can have in terms of sales teams see deal slip, they see revenue loss, they see customers that grow wary of unnecessary long and painful negotiations. Maybe procurement organizations miss out on the potential to unlock the value that's buried in terms, that's buried into SLAs, obligations, but they don't have the ability to proactively manage those. Legal teams, they not only get bogged down with manual and low-value work, but they also struggle to balance the need to keep pace with the speed of business. HR team, they may see top talent lost at the finish line as candidates accept offers from more nimble competitors. So that means that across every part of the organization, teams are slowed down by inefficient work, while critical questions go unanswered, and the efficiency of the existing technology investments is limited, all because data isn't flowing between agreement and the systems that they depend on. When it all adds up, obviously this is how we get to the $2 trillion in impact in global economy value every year. So we believe that organizations need to take a fundamentally different approach to managing their agreement. One where agreements are treated as first-class participants in the business workflows they support rather than bolt-on or afterthought. Where agreement data is made available to your existing systems to drive automation and provide insights about your business, rather than just remain them locked into static files or PDF. And the functional leaders in your business are supported and empowered at every step of the way. And we've put those principles at the center of everything we do. And as we take the next step forward, fulfilling our mission to redefine the way the world comes together and agrees. And this is what we call intelligent agreement management, or IAM. It's a new category of software powered by AI that helps organizations to escape the agreement trap by streamlining and automating agreement processes and by unlocking and unleashing the power of agreement data. And while there are plenty of technologies that focus on various aspects of the agreement process, DocuSign is the only one that offers a whole platform that can unleash the value of agreement data, again, across every industry throughout the world. A quick snapshot about intelligent agreement management. So there are three main pillars. Create agreements in accessible, collaborative, automated ways. Commit to agreements and relationships in a trusted environment, and manage agreement in a way that seamlessly integrates with the systems that run your business. And this is what Kalul is going to take us through. And as you can see here, our IAM platform in full details, you can see that the IAM platform is differentiated by 3 features, where you can unlock end-to-end workflow automation with Maestro, where you can unlock AI-powered agreements insights with our centralized repository navigator, and unmatched ecosystem with 900 integration and enterprise-ready APIs. And all this powered by a rich set of AI features across the entire agreement process of our agreement lifecycle with our AI engine, DocuSign Iris. Before I hand over to Kalul, I just wanted to take a step back because some of you may know us for, I would say, e-signature, where we were really well known for. It was how we were created and our brand and our name, our business runs on this. The way we introduce IAM, we're really building a bridge with the platform service like Maestro, App Center, and Navigator. And that goes up to CLM. So the way you look at it is really that IAM is not replacing any of the core capabilities. So if you're an e-signature customer of us, if you're a CLM customer of us, I would say it's still valid and those products still exist. It just brings a different way and a different view how to emphasize in terms of managing the agreements with the whole journey. So it's really a journey that we want to take on together with you and where Cobweb can support. Depending on when you are in your digital journey, this is how we can foresee that. I just wanted to share with you a handful of customers and some examples about what IAM brought in terms of benefits for their day-to-day business. So if you take Refinitiv, for example, they reduced their contract turnaround time by 95%, thanks to the improvement in the way they generate and negotiate contracts. And not only is the process faster, it also helps them to boost customer satisfaction by 20%. If you take another example in the bank, a Santander Bank, they reduced the time it takes for a customer to open a new account by over 80%. All that by automating important workflows and integrating with their core business technologies. You may be a Uber customer. They cut the time it takes to draft, review, and approve their agreements in half. And this is just a handful of examples, but it just shows you how we can digitize and streamline agreements. I'll pass it over to Kalul to take us through IAM in action with an amazing live demo. As a reminder, if you want to drop your questions in the chat, please do so. And anyway, as Anne mentioned, we will open up to Q&A at the end of the webinar. Kalul, over to you.
Thank you, Anne. Let me start sharing my screen. All right, I have shared my screen. I hope it is visible to everybody.
Yes, we can see it.
So hello everyone. Thanks for giving your time to know more about DocuSign IAM. And Anne has already kind of spoken in details what exactly we mean by intelligent agreement management, why we have kind of brought this new stack of offerings, and what exactly is there when we say about when we talk about intelligent agreement management offerings from DocuSign. Now I'm going to double click on whatever Anne has presented so far, so that things become a little bit more easier for you to understand and see for yourself what exactly these features are for and what exactly they do. Before I get started, I would like to do a quick dip check in terms of the audience that I know we have here. How many of you have used DocuSign in the past? And could be e-signature, could be CLM. Yeah, if you can just raise your hand, that will give me a count of that. I see one person. So I think quite a few in the audience today have already been using DocuSign, and I believe all of you are using DocuSign e-signature. So for all of you who are already using DocuSign, whatever I'm showing right now, this should be a pretty familiar interface for you. Whenever you have a DocuSign account to send what we call as the envelopes, this is where you log in and you start preparing your document to be sent out for e-signature. And this is something as simple as this. You create an envelope. For example, this is where you click. All right. So what I'm currently showing you how exactly you can send a document for e-signature. You simply browse the document. Probably I'll just search for something called MSA. In this case, a master services agreement. And all I need to do is that I need to just specify the recipient's name. I click on next, And with that, I get this, view where I can drag and drop certain fields. For example, definitely if I'm sending a document out for e-signature, I will have to, drop a signature field, probably a date as well, on which date the document has been signed. And then you simply click on it, send, and the document goes out, to the recipient for e-signature. This is basically, the experience of e-sign in DocuSign. But if you really think of it, and also the 2 points that Anne was mentioning, right, regarding the disconnected systems and processes, and also the tracked data in your completed agreements. If you take a moment and think about it, the signing does not happen. That moment of signing does not happen in isolation. There are certain steps, there are certain things that leads to the moment of signing, and after the signing happens, again, there are certain things that takes place once the execution of that agreement has been completed. So basically, if I simply describe this whole concept in another word, what we need here is basically something called agreement processes. And agreement processes are, again, can be thought about as nothing but some workflow which are very, very agreement specific. Now with DocuSign IAM, we have brought in something called Maestro, which is basically our workflow orchestration engine. Any agreement process that you can think of, for example, in many cases, before you are able to generate the document which you are going to send out for e-signature, you may need to collect different data from different sources. For example, you may have to collect certain data from your CRM system. Example, Salesforce. You may have to collect some data from that from your end customer, for example, through some HTML form and things like that. And then you merge that data with a template, generate a document, specify who the recipients are going to be, and then you send it out for e-signature. Now, after the signing has been completed, you may again have to do certain things. For example, one requirement could be that probably once the document comes back after signing, you may want to push that to cloud storage, for example, Google Drive or something like that. So as you can see, there are different processes or different applications are involved in creating an agreement process or agreement flow like this. So to be able to build that agreement process or workflow, you need a workflow orchestrator engine. And that is exactly why we have brought something called Maestro. And you can create this workflow, this kind of agreement workflows in a completely no-code manner. That means you don't have any dependency on the IT team or some third-party developer to build these workflows, to write a code for you and then make it available for you. But rather than that, as a business user, you can directly come here and start creating this workflow. Now you can create this workflow in two ways. We have an option to create a workflow from the very scratch. Or secondly, we are also coming up with different templates, which are basically like predefined, workflows that you can readily use and start, customizing it based on your requirement. Let us take, one example here. As you can see, there are multiple templates available, right from sending an, NDA, then finally storing the copy in a Google Drive. That is the first example to this fourth one that I'm going to demonstrate to you today, where basically adding a Salesforce lead, a CRM lead, when somebody requests for information, that is an RFI request comes in, how do you process that and kind of, add an entry in your sales, CRM as a new record. So let's see, how to build a flow like that. So I'm just going to use this particular template. And the moment you come here, it kind of tells you everything, what this template is about, what are the different DocuSign, features or modules are getting used here. For example, this is going to use something called a web form, which is basically a way to collect the data from the end customer. It is also going to involve a DocuSign e-signature, because if it is an RFI request, there has to be some sort of a consent, or some sort of an NDA that needs to be signed by both the parties. And finally, if the potential customer signs that NDA, you want to create a lead in your Salesforce system. In this case, the Salesforce is showing as installed because I have already installed Salesforce app in my account. And what do I mean by that? I'll come to that as well, when I'm able to, make progress with my demo. So, pretty much, everything that you would need to know about a particular workflow template, what it is about, how do you use it, how do you set up, all those information will be available. Along with that, you will also have the availability of a video demo of how exactly this thing or this particular workflow is supposed to work. I'm not going to play the video demo now because anyways, I'm going to show you, what it is going to look like. So I'm going to say that I will be using this template. This is exactly what I need for my agreement process that I need to build. So I'll simply click on use template, and this is going to install everything that is required for me to be able to, start configuring this particular agreement workflow. As you can see, it has loaded the workflow, which is nothing but a collection of different steps connected in a logical way. And I'm going to explain to you, what are the different steps in this particular workflow template that we just now have installed. So everything starts with, this particular step where you get to define how exactly you would want this workflow to start, finally, when it goes live, right? And there are different methods that you can use. For example, in this case, it has been defined that this workflow will be started by using a link. That means once you publish this workflow, you are going to get a link which you can share with someone, probably through email, or maybe you can share that, you can have that URL hosted on your website, something of that sort. That is one of the options, but there are different ways to start a workflow. For example, you can start right from within this interface. You can start at the happening of a certain event, which are different DocuSign events, for example, signing of a particular document, things like that. You can also do it from a DocuSign CLM workflow, which is a different product from DocuSign called Contract Lifecycle Management. You can also initiate a Maestro workflow from there. And one very widely used use case is using the API call as a starting method. For example, you may have a different application from where you might want to start a Maestro workflow. In that case, you will be doing that by using the API way of doing it. So for now, in this case, it will be from a link. The second step is basically it is the web form or the HTML form, which is going to be used to collect the data from the end user, or in this case, a potential customer. And I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. Again, everything is configurable. You just simply drag and drop these different steps, and that's how you start building these workflows. There's no coding, nothing required of that sort. In this case, I'm using a web form step, and in this step, I have mapped a particular web form that I have already created. In this case, this web form actually has got installed in my account the moment I installed this particular workflow template. But I can quickly show you what this web form is actually going to look like. So if I click on the preview, it is going to show me what this form is going to look like. As you can see, this is basically a data collection form for the RFI request that has come in. So, you will be collecting certain data, for example, the company name, some industry, some website, which is not required. So I'll just leave it blank for now. Requester name, title, some email ID. And that's how, you will be collecting this information. And the way to build this form is, again, a very simple, business user-friendly experience. For example, if I just do an edit form, I'll be able to show you how easy it is to build a web form like this in DocuSign, UI. As you can see, this is the form that is being referred in my workflow. And if you had to say, add a new field here, for example, if I wanted to add one more field, what can I say? For example, say, uh, something like a social security number or something like that. It is as easy and it is as simple as this, to kind of add something new on your web form. Just drag and drop. Different field types are available. You simply drag and drop. You change a label. If you want to put some validation, you can do that as well. Or if you want to, have some rule applied. And what do I mean by rule is that, for example, if if there's a certain value in a particular field, you want another field to be enabled or disabled, and things like that. You can create all those kind of rules as well. So this is the step how you kind of configure a HTML form in your workflow through which you are going to collect the data. The next step is basically where you are actually mapping certain information that has been collected with certain variables within your workflow. For example, I want to update the lead name variable with the full name of the requester, which is as simple as when I click here, everything that has happened previously, that means all the prior steps before this particular step that I'm currently working on, whatever data has been collected in those steps become available for me. In this case, because the web form step is before the update participant information, it becomes available for me to fetch that data from. As you can see, all these are the different field which is there in my web form. And I simply select and kind of make the connection so that the lead name variable gets populated with full name, which is being submitted by the potential customer. So this way, it is again very simple for you to, keep doing this different mapping within your workflow to be able to kind of build the logic that you would want to build as the workflow progresses, through different steps. The next step is where, as per my requirement, I would want to create a lead in the Salesforce system. Again, if I click here, because I have already configured my Salesforce account with the DocuSign IAM. What happens here is that if that connection of my Salesforce account is successful, all the Salesforce or the CRM objects are available for me to do some sort of mapping. In this case, what I'm doing here is that I'm choosing the lead object from my Salesforce, and I'm saying that it will be an update or create statement. And I simply click on next. And these are the different fields that I can start mapping against my Salesforce object. For example, in my Salesforce object, lead object, there is a field name, last name, which is I'm populating with the requester fast for a full name from that web form through which the customer is going to submit his or her information. Similarly, for the company name, title, and the list goes on. Now, how do you make sure that you find the right record to kind of update in your Salesforce? That is where you can write some conditional logic, the matching that needs to happen in your CRM. For example, if it is an update action, that means a record in the CRM already exists, and you'll be updating a specific record, an existing record in CRM. So how do you find that? So that is where you write something called rules, where I'm defining that, where the company name that I'm submitting is equal to the company name of a specific record in the CRM. And that's how the record gets retrieved from CRM and the update happens to that. Now, you might be wondering that how exactly I got this Salesforce option. So that is where I'm going to introduce you to something called App Center. So App Center is basically the app marketplace that we are, providing or building, or, I wouldn't say we are building, but we are building along with our partners to make all these different applications available to be used in DocuSign Maestro workflow. As you can see, we have so many different apps already available. For example, we have an app for Dynamics 365 as well. We have something for MuleSoft, which is built by a partner of ours. We have different project management, apps. And if I scroll down, you will see that we have an app for Salesforce as well. And what I did was that I installed this Salesforce app from the App Center. And if I go to Manage Apps, it will take me to my logged in experience of App Center. And as you can see, these are the installed apps for my account. I have installed a Salesforce app. I have installed a Google Drive app. And that is how, this has become available for me to be, to add that as a step in my Maestro workflow. Let's come back again, and I'll be able to show you. Yeah. So this is how you are getting that, right into Salesforce step. So after that, I want to, send document for the NDA because I want a potential customer to sign a non-disclosure agreement before we share more details from our side. And this is where I am using a e-signature step in my Maestro workflow, where all I have to do is that I simply have to specify the template that I'm going to use. And then I provide some, very basic information, for example, who are the recipients and things like that. And just like that, I am actually able to, uh, populate my document, and I'm able to, generate the document. So, this is where I do the mapping so that if my template is expecting certain data to be populated or coming from some source, I am actually able to map that into my template. In this case, because the company name of the potential customer will keep on changing. So that is something that I'm collecting directly from the customer in my step one, which is the web form or the HTML form. And then I'm able to use that collected data or information to put in my template and generate a document, NDA document with a particular company name. Now, next step, what I'm doing here is that I'm going to, do some conditional check. For example, what I'm checking here is that is the envelope status completed? Now, in DocuSign, when an envelope goes out for signing and the recipient signs the envelope, the status becomes completed. For example, if the recipient declines to sign, the status is something like declined. So I'm just using that particular conditional logic where I'm saying that if envelope status is equal to completed, the output of which will be a true or false. If it is true, then I want to again update something in my Salesforce, particular lead record. So I am going to take this true part. And if it is false, then I'm going to update again in Salesforce, but with a different information. For example, this may actually be extended. For example, if my flow says that, hey, if the potential customer declines to sign that NDA, I would want a case to get automatically created in Salesforce so that somebody from my side or my company side actually can call up the customer and find out, what exactly was the issue or the problem because of which a customer declined to sign that NDA. So all I can do is that I can just go ahead and I can simply, uh, you know, uh, choose this right back to Salesforce step, and I can start configure it. And in this case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use, instead of a lead object, this time it will be a case object that I'm going to use from Salesforce. And it does not end here. I can keep on building it. For example, say, after this true flow, where that agreement or the NDA has been signed, I want the final signed agreement to be pushed to a cloud storage like Google Drive. I will simply just add this step, and I can do the configuration where in Google Drive, which particular folder path I want the document to be stored. And I am actually able to accomplish that as well. So this is how easy the experience of building an agreement process or agreement workflow using DocuSign IAM Maestro engine. And the way we keep extending the capabilities of the platform is by using our App Center. As and when these new apps are coming, and becoming available in our App Center, you will be able to use these apps as your workflow steps to build different kind of agreement process logic based on your use case and based on your requirements. So that's basically the first part of the two problem statements that Anne was talking about. One is how do you connect all different disjointed processes and applications to build an end-to-end agreement process or agreement workflow without really having to do any kind of heavy lifting in terms of writing complex code, building custom development and things like that. This is our answer to that. Using Maestro workflow engine, you are able to do everything just through pure configurations. Now I will take you to the second part of the two problem statements. The second one that Anne was mentioning about, that once that agreement has been signed, then a lot of useful information gets trapped or gets locked because the signed agreement is nothing but a PDF copy. And until and unless somebody goes in and kind of reads through the document, there's no good way to find the information or unlock the information, which is so critical for driving a lot of business decisions. Now, if that agreement is 2 pages, you are lucky. Somebody can actually go in and read line by line and kind of extract all the key information. But in most of the cases, agreements are 20 pages, 30 pages, 50 pages, and more than that. So this is not practically possible for, kind of go and manually read each and every agreement, more for the cases where the number of agreements in an organization is in hundreds or in thousands. So how do we solve this problem? So what we have done is that to solve this problem, we have brought in the capability of AI, which is DocuSign Iris. And we call this feature as the navigator. So what happens is that, once an agreement has been signed, it gets automatically ingested into our navigator repository, on top of which our AI extraction feature is running. So it starts extracting all the key information from a static file, which is critical or crucial from a contract or agreement perspective. For example, this is a document which I had ingested in Navigator. And as you can see, it has been able to, what you can see on the left-hand side is all the extraction that AI has been able to pull out from this document. For example, it has been able to find the agreement type, which is the master service agreement, and where exactly in the document it is finding that information. Navigator kind of highlights you that as well. For example, it is finding master services agreement as the agreement type from this highlighted, text in this particular document, and the list goes on. For example, it can tell you who are the different parties involved. Something like effective date, where exactly the effective date was found from this particular sentence in the agreement, and the termination date, right? The notice period, which is found to be 180 days. Now let's see where exactly it is getting pulled from the document by the AI to do this retrieval. So I'm going to just highlight on this, and as you can see, this particular 180 days has been found in page 11 of 15 of this document. And this is found in this particular long sentence. So the AI is not just doing some kind of a dumb extraction, but it is able to understand the document from terms of a contract or an agreement, and then being able to kind of extract the information from a very, very agreement, perspective. So this is how the AI is coming into rescue for kind of unlocking the value of the signed agreement PDF copies, which is otherwise, just trapped. And there is no good way to kind of unlock, the information from your executed agreements. Now, where exactly you are going to use this this extracted information? You're going to use to kind of build certain, out of the box reports. For example, there are two reports which you can see with those three purple dots. One is agreements. Now, this agreement report is basically purely getting, generated by the AI extraction that is happening from your agreements. As you can see, it can give me some very critical information out of the box. For example, what are the active agreements? What are the expiring agreements in the next 90 days? What are the agreements up for renewal and things like that? And it gives me some more details as I scroll down this particular dashboard. The second one is again something called renewals. It can tell me what are the different renewal types. I can see that there are 8 of the agreements that I have. These are evergreen. That means they do not really come with any specific expiration date, while 3 agreements are of type automatic renewal. So as you can see, because you are able to unlock the data trapped in your executed agreements or contracts or documents through AI, you are actually able to find, the business significance of that data which is now available with you. Because the moment you are able to put that data into use in building some reports like this, there's a lot of decisions that can be driven by the business leadership in terms of what exactly needs to happen with the different agreements that particular company might have. Uh, One final thing that I would like to show before we leave some time for Q&A as well. Now, what we have also done is that we have made this AI functionality really accessible for our end customers. And what I mean by that is that now you don't really have to be limited by what DocuSign is providing in terms of these AI extractions, but you can also start building your or managing the different agreement types, right? For example, these are the out-of-the-box different agreement types that DocuSign has already provided. But if you think that, hey, my agreements are not really, kind of aligning with or matching with any of these, available agreement types, which comes out of the box, you have the flexibility of creating your own agreement type, defining your own custom fields, and then you have the flexibility of training the DocuSign AI models on your agreement type and on your actual agreements so that you are actually able to fine tune the model, get the desired level of accuracy in your output, and kind of use it specifically for the agreements which are very, very unique for your organization. So this is the flexibility that we are bringing, with DocuSign IAM platform, where we are enabling and empowering our customers more and more to be in complete control of the different features and capabilities that we are providing in this intelligent agreement management platform. With that, I will stop, this demonstration, and I will leave some time for some, Q&As that the audience might be having after seeing the different features or capabilities of IAM platform.
And we can see that there are 2 questions. Not sure how we can unlock those questions.